Welcome back. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build and run a sample C++ program using Visual Studio Code. First thing we need to do is we need to create a folder. That folder is going to hold our projects. We're going to have more than one project, which makes life a lot simpler. Most of the ways that you see Visual Studio Code set up on the web is basically just one project and one project at a time. And that's okay, but it becomes really tedious. For a course like this, where we've got a lot of little projects and we're learning a lot as we go, it's much more efficient just to create one folder that holds a bunch of projects for each section of the course. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create that folder. Then what we're going to do is we're going to write a really small C++ program that we'll be able to test easily. Then we'll configure Visual Studio Code to build and run that. Okay, so first order of business is to create that folder. Now, I don't create the folder within Visual Studio Code. I just do it right in the file system. So I'm just going to minimize this for a minute, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to create a folder here. And I'm just going to call this section X, let's say. Now, you can organize your folders however you like, section 1, section 2, section 3 of the course. Section X is what I'm going to use to represent any section that you might be working on. So that's it. It's just an empty folder. There's nothing in it. We're going to create subfolders within it. Each subfolder will be a different project, but we'll do that part in Visual Studio Code. So let me come back to Visual Studio Code. And now what I want to do is I want to open the folder. I can do it right here. I can also use these command keys. And I can also come up to here where it says File, Open Folder. I'll select the desktop. So now what I'll do is I'll select the desktop, and I'll select section X, and I'll select the folder down here. And now what happens is Visual Studio Code has opened up the section X folder. There's nothing in it. It's just an empty folder right now. And we can create new files and open files and so forth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this down right here, just so we don't clutter anything up. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a subfolder within this section X folder. And we can do that by clicking that icon right there, new folder. This creates a new file. This creates a new folder. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to call it Project 1. We can create multiple projects, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And then within Project 1, so we want to be sure that Project 1 is selected, we're going to create a new file. And that new file is main.cpp. That's our main C++ program. This is that little test program that we're going to write. So I could just select that. And we're going to get this message down here. Do you want to use the insider's version? That allows you to use new features in Visual Studio Code that maybe aren't ready for prime time yet. They're still being worked out, release candidates and so forth. I'm just going to say no. I want to use the stable version. And now what we're going to do here is we're going to write a really simple C++ program so that we can configure it to run. So let me show you how to do that. A lot of this you won't know yet, especially if you're just starting out the course. But just type along, follow along, and all this will be explained during the course. So I'm going to say using namespace std. And now we're going to create an int main. That's our main function. And then all we're going to say in here is cout hello from project 1. Just so we know that if that displays, our program is running correctly. All right. As I said, all this will be explained, so don't worry about it if you don't understand the syntax. That's perfectly normal. Okay, now, so we've got this program that we want to run, and it is in Project 1 folder, which is in the section X root folder. Perfect. It's very important now that we always select the file that we want to run. We may have multiple projects with multiple main.cpp files. Visual Studio Code runs the active one, which is the one that's selected. So it's really important that we select it. Now, before we run it, we need to do some configuration. So we can come up here to View Command Palette or press Ctrl-Shift-P. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to type C++. And somewhere in here, you're going to get an Edit Configurations UI. That's what we need to do. That's going to configure the Visual Studio Code IntelliSense, which is a real nice feature. As we type our code, it's going to try to help us figure out, what errors we might have and so forth. So I'll show you how to do that. We just select that, and we're going to come right into here, IntelliSense Configurations. And most of these we're not going to mess with. This compiler right here, Notice that it's already figured out that I'm using the MinGW64 compiler. That GCC, though, is not the one we want. We want the G++, that guy right there. We may have other compilers on the system as well, but this is the one I want to use, the MinGW. So make sure that that's G++, not GCC. GCC is the C compiler. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more. And then right here, for the C++ standard, you can use 14 or 17. I'm just going to use C++ 17. That tells IntelliSense to use that standard when it's looking through the code. That's it. So you can press Control S to save. And our IntelliSense now is configured. You'll notice what happened over here on the left side. A .VSCode folder was created. And if you expand that, it created a CCPP properties.json file. That's a configuration file that has all that stuff that we just said. Okay, so we're almost done, not quite. What we need to do now is we need to configure a build task. And I'll show you how that works. You can come up here to Terminal and configure default build task right here. Select that. Now it's going to ask us, what compiler do you want to use? And we may get a lot of different compilers depending on what's installed on your system. It's important that you use MinGW64G++, this guy right here. Don't use this. That's a preprocessor. Don't use this. That's the C compiler. Make sure we're using some kind of G++ or C++, something in there. If you're using MinGW64, this is what it's going to be. It might be installed in a different place, but you're going to see the MinGW64 and the G++. So that's what I'm going to select. Okay. So notice now what happened. It created a tasks.json configuration file. So we need to make a few changes here. Right here on line 9, right after line 9, I'm going to add a few command line switches. One is dash, capital W, A, L, L, lowercase, followed by a comma. That tells the C++ compiler to generate warnings, all warnings that it can. Then I'm going to press enter. And again, I'm going to use some quote marks, and I'm going to say dash std equals C++ 17 and a comma at the end. That tells the build to use the C++ 17 compiler. Now, there's one more thing we need to do. Right here where it says file directory name, we want to copy that and put it right in here. So we're going to replace file with file directory name. Okay, so I'm just going to paste it right in there so I don't have any typos. And then right at the end of that, right between the curly and the quote, I'm just going to do a //star.cpp. And that tells the build system to compile all the C++ files that it sees in the project. One of the problems with Visual Studio Code, as it comes configured, it only builds the one single C++ file. So when students write larger programs that have multiple C++ files, they have errors because they can't build multiple C++ files. So that's it. That takes care of this. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to get out of here. So now I'm right back to here. So what I want to do next is I want to build this program. That means compile it and link it. So I'm going to come up to Terminal, and I'm going to say Run Build Task, Control-Shift-B. Now when I do that, we'll get some stuff going on down here, and notice it says Build Finished Successfully. And you'll also see that WALL and the standard C++ 17, all those compiler flags that we put in the tasks.json file, this is where they're being used. There's the star CPP that we changed. So basically, it's compiling everything in that project1 folder and creating a file called main.exe. That's our executable file. That's the one we can run. And you can see it right over here. There it is. Now what we can do is we can run that executable. So I'm going to right-click on that executable and open it in the integrated terminal. And you can see that it's opened up a command prompt right in that project1 directory, and that's exactly where main.exe is. So if I type ls, that just gives us a file listing, and we can see that we've got our main CPP and our main.exe. So what we want to do now is we want to run the main.exe program. So we can do it /main.exe and press enter. And there it is. Hello from project 1. Simple as that. So notice what we did. We built the program. And by the way, these configurations that we've done, All right, we're done with that. We don't have to do that again. We can create new projects. We can create new CPP files within those projects. These configurations will apply to all of them. So let me show you how to do that. Let me close this down and let's create another project, project 2. So if I click over here and I select that guy, now it's going to create the folder within project 1. That's not what I want. I want project 2 to be at the same level as project 1. And at first you're thinking, how do I do that? I remember I couldn't figure it out. The way you do it is, and when you press this, you click main CPP, for example, and you press escape. And notice this blue box that just showed up. It's not really intuitive that you need to press escape there, but that's what works. Now we can come over here and create a new folder, and we're going to call it project 2. And notice now that project 1 and project 2 are at the same level, which is what we want. So I'm just going to copy project 1. So I'm just going to do a copy and paste. And I'm going to come over here to project 2. And I'm going to create a main.cpp, just like we did before. And I'm just going to copy that so I don't have to type it all in again. I'm just going to say hello from project 2. That's it. So now what do we want to do? We want to run project 2. So remember, it has to be the active file. So you want to make sure that you are clicking here, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to terminal, Control-Shift-B or run build task. I tend to just do Control-Shift-B, but I'll do it this way here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So run build task. It is going to compile and build project 2. You can see right over here where my mouse is. And it created another main.exe file. If I want to run that, I can right click on it, open in the integrated terminal, and do a ./main.exe, hello from project 2. So this is how we can create as many projects as we want. It's really easy and it's really convenient because sometimes when we're learning, we're trying different projects out. So that's pretty much it. We can also, when we run the program, we can grab input from the user. So if I wanted to change this project 2 right here, I could always say, let's see, int num, and then we're going to say something like cout, enter your favorite number, and then we'll read that from the user into num, and then we'll just display cout, your favorite number is what they just entered, right? None. And we'll put a new line at the end. So this program now has input and output. And remember, I can't just run it again because I have to rebuild it. If I run main.exe, let me show you how that works. It'll run the previous one, right? Because I haven't built it again. So I have to come up to terminal, build active. There we go. Now I can run this main.exe because it's been rebuilt, and I can run that. And it's going to say, enter your favorite number, and I'm going to enter 100. Your favorite number is 100. Okay, and I could have put a space right in here or something like that, and a colon, just to prompt the user in a little prettier way. So that's it. This is how we can build and run our C++ programs. In the next video, what we'll do is we'll create one more configuration file called launch.json. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to use the debugger so that we can walk through code and debug code, especially code that's really tricky or it's giving us problems or we're trying to find an error. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video.